This stage, the contract doesn't mean very much. This stage, the contract is not as important as the relationship. Okay? So there are many things you can do in terms of reaching from here to here. One of them, of course, is regular contact. You must have, when you are doing business in China, you must try to have face-to-face contact. That's one thing that General Motors used to do some job for them. General Motors, when they took over Daewoo, the first thing they did in Sydney was everything that the rule comes in from America, anything that can be done over the phone shall be done over the phone. There's no more flying around, save costs and all. The first thing is, the Korean are saying, gee, if you can't be bothered to come and see me, what your request is can be very important. If it's important, you will be on the ground to tell me what to do. So it's important to realize that. So I think, given how far am I going in terms of time?
Another 3 months a weekend.
Okay, what I'll do is I will stop here, but I'm quite happy to answer questions if you're more specific. But remember this, the 3 points I'm trying to make is, first point is, you realize that if you go to China, you are changing your from a post-industrial system into a pre-industrial system way of doing business. First point. Second point is the post-industrial and pre-industrial way of doing business are in the reverse. Here, law dominates everything. Here, law is the least important. So here you are, let's say, you bring up Taiwan and say, I'm coming down to see you, and then the Taiwanese pick you up, having lunch and all this sort of thing. And then as you want to talk about contracts and all this sort of thing, they want to talk about your family and all that. And the typical Australian, New Zealand executive mind is, I don't really want to tell you about the Chinese tea. It doesn't have much taste. I don't really like all this Chinese food and all this sort of thing. All I want you to do is to sign on the dotted line so I can go home. See, typical, your mindset is different. The Chinese and the Japanese and the Singaporean can't sign a contract with you until they have a relationship. Now, once you accepted that, relationship models involve taking the relationship in stages. You must invest in building a relationship, moving from economic to socio-economic. Within that time, you entertain each other, you're meeting, all this sort of thing. There are little gifts here and there. So along the way, you have corruption. Corruption is not inside socio-economic relationship. Corruption is here. When you have no relationship, you need to bribe people. When you have relationship, you go. But as Raymond pointed out, you have to build relationship in China at 2 levels. You must build relationship with the government. You must build relationship with your business partner. Now that's another stage. How do you build relationship with the government? The government is a bit harder. So you may have to get advice from Raymond in that regard. So I will stop here and then I'll open for questions.
So we've got these back on. We've got 4 or 5 minutes just to wrap up there, and I think, as you can see, there's a great deal of information and knowledge between these 2 gentlemen of trading up into that part of the world. So I'd like to open the floor to questions. If you wouldn't mind, there's a microphone there as well, just so that everyone can hear the questions we go through. But have we got any questions from the floor?
Yes, David. Andrew Fenton from New Zealand. The conditions that you've described in the relationships are valuable for everybody. How do they apply when the Chinese are negotiating in another country?
The Chinese, the one angle of this theory, which I haven't got time to cover, is the guest-host relationship. If you are in China, if you travel to China to do business, you are the guest, they play host. If they come to Australia, or New Zealand, you play host and they play guest. So there is a certain way of behavior that they have to subscribe to. So if they do business in Australia when they are host, when they are guests, they must subscribe to the law and practices in that country. So same thing. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yes, thank you.
Pauline Peck from AFCO. This is a question for Raymond.
Yeah.
It's about the positioning of Australia vis-a-vis the rest of our competitors as a country. So there's two parts to this question. The first one, Australia versus New Zealand. Is there a difference in the consumer perception between the two countries, or can we ride off the back of Zespri's investment in China? That's the first question. The second one is Chile, Peru, South Africa, they're all in the same sort of season zone as us. Is there a consumer difference in perception between our country and those two? Thanks.
Okay. I think Australian, New Zealand products in Chinese consumers' eyes, they have the same, very similar image, And people come to New Zealand, Australia, they all go back and send the message to their friends, and it's so nice country, it's a beautiful environment, everything, right? And then the fruits in China we are sold in the wholesale market or in the supermarkets are all of high quality. So basically, like the apples from New Zealand and the kiwi from New Zealand, and before we also take the kiwi from Australia, in consumers' eyes they are all beautiful, right? So from New Zealand, Australia actually for Chinese are quite similar. So I think it means the Australian products to the China market is the same. You have the big opportunity like Zespri. So it's a matter of how you do it, how you do the marketing job. It's not just slowly trading make it happen. We must invest by the whole industry, by the government, or by the fruit association or whatever. You have to do something. It's not just depends on the exporter and the importers trading sales. That is very slow. As for the difference between here and the Chile, Peru, South Africa, in these years happening in the China market is just the cost wise from here is much more expensive become. I remember like 8-10 years ago is we are importing quite a lot of Australian oranges to China, also the apple, gala, also the stone fruits, mango, is plenty. So, but the years later, it changed. The South Africa beat Australia because their price is much lower, right? And still for the biggest part of the consumers is still price is important because generally speaking, the fruits imported to China market is quite expensive with high price, with the higher duty, high cost in logistics, everything. So still, if the difference is not so much, then it's okay. If the difference is too much, like the Australian oranges, you need $30, and then the South African is just $15. So that's too much difference. Although the people know the Australian orange is more sweet, but then they're not going to pay double price. That's the difference.
Any other questions?
Bill Kirkland, New Zealand. David, I was just wondering if you were selecting people to engage in Asian business and you were wanting them to move successfully through the phases, is there any behavioural or personal characteristics you'd be looking in for those people?
Yes, let me answer this way. The first thing about appointing people is that the relationship building cannot crosses hierarchical levels. In other words, you cannot send. You have junior managers, middle managers, senior managers, and CEO. The link is CEO to CEO counterparts. Senior managers to senior managers, middle managers to middle managers. You cannot send a middle managers and expect him or her to make contact with the CEO or upper manager. That's the first flaw you have. So in other words, if you have sent somebody there 7 trips and he or she is not going anywhere, you know he or she cannot make contact with another level. That's the first thing you have to learn. Second thing is that the people you send have to at least show a fairly open mind. I met many young executives, let's say from Germany, in China, and you have to restrict your comments. So sometimes if they are, for instance, they take you to eat lunch and something is served, you don't crack things like, oh, not another monkey brain. You say things like that. These are the sort of attributes which you stir up, even though it's humor. Humor is a very dangerous thing. Humor does not readily cross cultural boundaries. So in other words, the people you send, at least for the first few trips, are very proper, fairly conservative, less of a sort of a larrikin type of, typical Australian larrikin type of behavior. I think that will serve you well.
Okay, time for one more question. Yep, quick one.
Pauline Peck from AFCO again. This is a question on price positioning. I've just heard double the price for good, clean quality environment is not going to be acceptable. What, in your experience, is that percentage price premium that is attainable for a lot of the producers here in Australia? We have very high labor costs, and that's the big part of the cost component in getting our fresh produce across to the world. So it'd be useful for us to know, 20, 30% maybe, but it's more like 15. Would like your view on that. Thanks.
Yeah, I think for a better product, better concept, better idea, images, the consumers are like to pay higher price. That's no question. In terms of what kind of percentage, this is hard to say. For example, now the zespri kiwi, they are selling like 250 RMB a case, 10 kilo, while the Chilean one is only selling 110. So even is more than double. So why is that? Because they invest a huge amount of marketing works, promotions, educating the consumers, keep telling the consumers that this kiwi from New Zealand is so good, is so nutritious, right? While the Chileans they are doing nothing. So is one side is naturally the consumers they don't like to pay much higher price. They are quite sensitive. We see in the supermarket, in the retailers, if the price go down like 2 RMB a kilo, then the sales go up maybe 20%, 30%. And if you go down 30% the price, then the sales volume go up maybe double. So it's for naturally trading sales, the consumers they don't like to pay much higher price. But we are talking about for the high price cargo, like from here, the consumers are mostly rich people, and for the rich people, some of them they are really not care about the price. They just care about the quality. They care about the appearance. They care about the taste, right? So there's no definite answer to that. But I think if we do more marketing jobs, the Chinese consumer they can pay a higher price. We are China. We are buying all the luxury brands.
Okay, I think you agree that that's been quite a fascinating presentation from both our speakers, so I'd like you to take the moment to show your appreciation for both of them.